Hey, what up, everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you with a review of Survivor Series 1991. The other day I put up a classic review of Survivor Series 1990 because it was one of my good favorite shows to watch back when I was a kid. So I thought I would watch the next year's in order to sort of go along with the flow of things of going into the Survivor Series pay-per-view for WWE in the next couple of weeks. This is a special review, I guess, because I haven't watched this show in what I guess would be 22 years. I don't know. I was a major Hulk Hogan fan when I was a kid. And back in the day, my dad used to be real good friends with the bar owner that was near our house, and he used to go over there all the time. And I remember, for some reason, I guess because I was a wrestling fan, the guy who owned the bar gave my dad this thing to take home to me, and it was basically like a little thing that would sit on the table at the bar, and it had the pay-per-view sort of, not the poster, because it was only the size of something that would sit on a restaurant, that would be like the promotional thing to make you want to go to the bar in order to watch this. Was like, it used to sit on the table in the living room, because he brought it home and he gave it to me, and I used to sit it on the table, and I used to remember eating breakfast in the morning, getting ready for school, looking at this poster, and I thought how stupid it was, how, the Survivor Series had always been traditional 4-on-4 matchups, and on this one, I was just so confused on why they would be breaking tradition in putting a 1-on-1 match in here. Hulk Hogan versus The Undertaker, the gravest challenge for the WWE Championship. To me, honestly, it didn't really make any sense. This was all sort of brought up by the fact of The Undertaker attacking Hulk Hogan on Paul Bear's Graveyard talk show, whatever that was. And honestly, to me, as somebody that was, growing up watching wrestling, I looked at The Undertaker as sort of like a guy that was just going to be sort of like a flash in the pan. He'd only been in the WWF for 1 year. And to me, honestly, by watching the show, it seemed like they were really, really leading up to Hulk Hogan versus Ric Flair is what this was all really based around. Because basically, Hulk Hogan was, jawing back and forth with Ric Flair when Undertaker attacked him. And it seemed like that's what they were leading to, is like that big WrestleMania match, Hulk Hogan versus Ric Flair, a match that we never got for years and years until both of them were in WCW, because Vince didn't pull the trigger on the big WrestleMania match that year in Indiana, splitting everybody up. Macho Man went up against Ric Flair. Hulk Hogan went up against Justice, Sid Vicious, Psycho Sid, whatever you want to call him. But honestly, I thought basically that Hogan was going to get built up against this big match against The Undertaker, and it was going to be just like everybody else Hogan had faced throughout the years, whether it was Kamala or Bad News Brown, Earthquake, King Kong Bundy. It was going to be somebody that, was bigger than him, looked like they could never lose, and Hogan was going to go into the match, get beat up for 20, 30 minutes, and then out of the middle of nowhere, Hulk up and win it all. And honestly, this was the first time I ever saw Hulk Hogan lose. And that is the one reason why I have never watched this pay-per-view. I have never watched this match until today. Because, as like I said the other day, like the reason why I still watch wrestling is I chase that high of, basically feeling like I did when I was 9 or 10 years old, just riding the wave of Hulkamania. And, this is, what wrestling is supposed to be. This is what I like. This is what I love. And Hulk Hogan losing, I was not accustomed to. If history serves me right, there were some matches that Hogan lost the count out to back in the day to Macho Man Randy Savage on house shows, building up Savage as sort of like a bigger star, and sort of like a supreme heel, even though he wasn't on the main event scene yet. It was sort of like to get in there, but I hadn't seen those yet. I know that Hogan had lost at the main event leading up to WrestleMania 4, but honestly, I didn't see that show I didn't even see that show till I was really a lot older, because it was a special show that I didn't see. It wasn't until I got into tape collecting that I finally got to see that match, and that is a spectacle to see, with DiBiase causing him to lose the match with the two Hebners in there, everything like that. But this is the first time we saw Hulk Hogan get pinned in the middle of the ring, and I wasn't in tears, but I was in shock. Just like, wow, this isn't supposed to happen. And watching this match back today, knowing what was going to happen, Hogan versus Undertaker sucked. It was basically every Hulk Hogan match. Undertaker took him around the ring. They beat each other up. They strangled each other. They punched each other. They kicked each other. They gave each other everything they had. And when they looked like that Hogan was going to win, Flair came out, caused a distraction, and Undertaker won. And everyone is in shock. Everyone in the whole place. I mean, if you're going to watch this show for anything, just watch to see everybody in the crowd just surprised. I think everybody was just like me, thinking that this was going to be nothing. Just another guy, a bump in the road that Hogan was going to beat, and it was over. And Hogan wasn't the champion. It was almost like WWE didn't know what to do. Hogan was laid out in the middle of the ring. They wanted to make a big deal of this because, he had never been beaten. They wanted to stretcher him out. Some idiot is messing up the shot in the second row by standing up in his seat, blocking the camera, looking into the TV screen like he's waving to his mom sitting in his, seat at home. Sit the fuck down. You're screwing this up. I loved it because they cut to the back and they do a random interview with Roddy Piper, asking him what he thought about what happened, and he's talking about Hulkster and Hogan and sort of saying that Hogan's going to get his day. And the interview's weird because Piper doesn't talk about his match at all that he had early on in the card. It's almost like Hogan lost. What the fuck do you think about this? With Mooney, then they cut to finally getting an interview with Ric Flair and Mr. Perfect, and they're talking about the master plan, finally getting the belt off Hogan. Flair's the real world's champion, and wow. I mean, just crazy. They ended up booking a show that this was on a Wednesday night because it was always the night before Thanksgiving for the next Tuesday, which was called Tuesday in Texas. It is released on a Coliseum home video, which I believe is called Super Tape 91 or something like that. But basically, I think now that I've reviewed this show, I think I need to review that show as well. But real weird. I mean, honestly, like the match wasn't that good, but I had those feelings of how I felt like Hogan lost. I just saw Hulk Hogan lose. I can't believe this. Another major thing that was being around at the WWF at the time was the feud between Randy Savage and Jake the Snake Roberts. I think if it wasn't for the Hulk Hogan feud and the DDP feud, I think that the Jake the Snake Roberts feud is one of the biggest feuds that Macho Man ever had in his career. And basically it was all brought up at the wedding, with Undertaker and Jake the Snake, breaking it up with the Cobra coming out of the present. And Jake just really wanted to get at Randy. And when this show opens, it's showing clips from superstars, WWF superstars from back in the day, which was like their go-to show, which was shown through syndication, which I guess because it says of wrestling at the bottom, WWF blocks out to make sure you don't know that you're watching wrestling, because it's sports entertainment now, if you're watching on the Survivor Series, the anthology box set, which I think is pretty stupid. But basically, you get to see Roberts goad out Macho Man. Macho Man gets knocked down, gets tied up in the ropes, and Jake the Snake has a Cobra attack him and bite him in the arm. It's pretty legendary. I bet it's on the Oh My God set, but I haven't seen that. I don't even think I've ever watched that, now that I think about it. I think I started it, but I've never even got past the first 10. I need to go check that out someday. But basically, one of the most freakiest things, there's kids crying. Honestly, I laughed at that. To me, honestly, even watching it now, the snake looks fake to me. I think that everybody knows that the snake was real. But I just, I laugh at it a little bit. But I mean, watching it back then, that was some freaky ass shit. Because of this, Jack Tunney says that they're pulling Jake from the card. He's not going to be able to appear at the Survivor Series, and that they're going to wrestle at Tuesday in Texas as sort of like the main event, because they haven't planned or they hadn't told everybody that Hogan was going to lose the title and they were going to do the rematch at that show. So that passes the heat on to there. The Survivor Series matches this year honestly didn't mean as much as the ones they did the year before. This one had Ric Flair, the Mountie, Ted DiBiase, and the Warlord going up against Roddy Piper, Bret Hart, Virgil, and Davey Boy Smith. From this match, it just seemed like it honestly went on forever. Ric Flair ended up being the sole survivor of this show after everybody in the match was disqualified for brawling inside the ring, and because Ric Flair was dumped to the outside at the start of the brawl, he was the only guy who wasn't disqualified, making him the winner. In a match that honestly just sort of went on forever. The Warlord and Davey Boy Smith was eliminated earlier on in the match, but that was about it. Next match was Team Slaughter going up against, I guess, the fuck did he fight? I don't even know who the leader of this team was, but you got Colonel Mustafa, you got Hercules, Skinner, and the Berserkers, the team of just all-out heel jobbers, pretty much. And Team Slaughter pulls through, doing the clean sweep of the win. Nothing really much more in this match. Then after the title match, you have the Nasty Boys and the Beverly Brothers going up against the Bushwhackers and the Rockers in a match where you just feel sorry for the Rockers. The Bushwhackers are eliminated very, very early in this match, and it's Marty and Shawn going up fighting against the Nasty Boys and the Beverly Brothers, and the real meaning of this match is basically the breakup of the Rockers. Marty Jannetty goes to suplex one of the Nasty Boys, and when he does the suplex, it kicks Shawn right in the face, and he's rolled up for the pin, eliminating from the match. And because of that, they were eliminated. Marty wasn't able to fight off all four guys. He got pinned due to the small package. Shawn was pissed, and you get to see, which was inevitably the breakup with Shawn throwing Marty through the barbershop window. Now the next match got screwed up because basically Roberts wasn't going to be able to be there because Jack Tunney told him that he wasn't allowed to show up at the show. But basically it was supposed to be Team Psycho Sid going up against Team Roberts, two guys who I don't believe really had a feud at the time, seeing how Sid just came out of reffing the match between Hogan and Warrior going up against Team Slaughter at SummerSlam 1991. Really, really great show right there. One of my favorite pay-per-views of all time. Honestly, Sid didn't appear until after, Sid didn't appear until at the Royal Rumble. So more than likely what I think happened is Sid failed the piss test. And I think that they wanted to do the Jake the Snake Roberts and Macho Man deal, but I think that because they didn't have Sid there, they just figured they could advance their storyline by saying that Roberts was suspended and wasn't able to be there, because it's pretty stupid to suspend the guy but say that he could fight on the Tuesday coming up. So this ended up being Legion of Doom and the Big Boss Man going up against the Natural Disasters and IRS, and this match is pretty shitty and pretty pointless to be the main event of a pay-per-view, because basically the whole time they're in this match, and it's going on forever and ever and ever, they're just bullshitting about the stuff that they've seen earlier on in the match. It's almost like the filler match in between a main event and the real main event of WrestleMania, which is normally like a Divas match or like sort of like a co-op tag match or something like that. But there's nothing that comes up after this. It almost looked like the Natural Disasters were going to turn babyface in this when IRS hits Typhoon in the face with the briefcase, and Earthquake takes on after he was eliminated. But basically, Legion of Doom and the Big Boss Man, well, no, because Boss Man got eliminated, but for some reason he's out there at the end of the match. He just comes back out there, I guess. Yeah, he was in there. I mean, he was out there, but he did get eliminated during the match, now that I think about it. He got hit with the briefcase as well by IRS, but at the end, he got the flying clothesline from Hawk coming off the top rope. He rolled them up, got the win, and Big Boss Man and Legion of Doom were in the ring to celebrate them going off the air. But honestly, from watching this, it just makes me want to watch Tuesday in Texas. This match, this whole pay-per-view as a whole, besides for the shocking Hulk Hogan losing, deal is pretty forgettable and not really needed. But we'll check out Tuesday in Texas and see where we go from there. Thanks for watching, everybody, and peace out.